Greetings, fellow people, or animals who happen to be watching, whatever. Allegedly, there's a cat that watches YouTube videos. Okay, so the issue at hand is the remasking and vaccine mandates. Now, the immediate emotional response falls into two categories. Or I should back up. It's me, Jim, Masters in Social Responsibility and Sustainability, and working for a bright new tomorrow. Yeah, I was out for a couple weeks. As if I had a following, right? So, the issue, as I said, is the remasking and vaccine mandates. Now, the two immediate emotional reactions are, I have a right not to do these things. And, well, I have a right to not get infected by you. And besides, we've got so many other vaccines that have saved lives and that everybody gets anyway. Okay. Both of these arguments are actually true. The problem is that people need to separate out their emotions. The emotional response is one of the most inherently human things that we have going on in society. Now, yes, people have a right to choose whether or not they get a vaccine and whether or not they wear a mask. Honestly, it's plausible for someone to say, I could choose to not get a polio vaccine. Well, given that you're a child when you get that, it's usually your parents who make the decision. And there is quite factually no requirement given. Nowhere on any employment application, please provide proof of your polio vaccine. Nowhere on a school application, provide proof of your polio vaccine. There is no law that says if you do not get your child a polio vaccine, we will incarcerate you. You will not be allowed to go shopping. You will not be allowed to eat in a restaurant. Now, the difference with the varying comments regarding these vaccine mandates. Federal employees are now being told that you will get this vaccine. Excuse me. You will wear a mask in all buildings. Now, there's one inherent problem to this, and I wish a lawyer would get it into a court, but everybody's passively going along. Okay, the issue at hand with that, a polio vaccine, a smallpox vaccine, a flu vaccine, a typhoid vaccine, all of these things are proven, authorized, or what's that word? The FDA has certified all of them. Yes, there have been years of trial and testing. Yes, when they first came out, when the smallpox vaccine first came out, there was not an issue of, oh, well, we have to do 5 years of study before we can allow this to be given to people. I mean, seriously, there was and of course it's immediately going to jump my mind as to what vaccine that was, that General Washington the first commanding general of the Continental Army, mandated and pushed on his troops. And as I recall reading, a third of them got so badly sick that they were dropped from force. But, per General Washington, it was deemed that the risk of getting the disease was going to be more detrimental than the effects of getting this truly experimental vaccine that had very little actual science involved. And guess what? We didn't have any codified human rights at the time. Literally, people were able to own other human beings. Today, our rights are acknowledged. People have a right to be educated and choose whether or not to get the current version of this COVID vaccine. Now that's the important part, is getting educated. Are there people who cannot take this vaccine? Yes, there are. Am I one of them? No. Based on all of the information and data available, there is no harm to me getting this vaccine, or a minimum amount. I mean, there's this allegation that 60% of the people who've gotten it develop some sort of a heart disease or heart issue. I mean, that's kind of pretty like, yeah, I'm hoping that it's not me. But there are people who have predisposed issues that can make these possible side effects become very bad. Are they a limited number of people? Yes. Is it less than 20%? I don't know. But it doesn't change the fact that they, as human beings, have a right to choose what they will or will not have put in them. Do other people have the right, or do they have the right to say? Yes. Do they have a right to not risk being infected by others? No. No one has a right to say, you must do something in order to prevent me being at risk of getting infected by you. No, no one has that right, because it requires forcing other people to do something. I cannot force people to get vaccinated. I cannot force people to not drive to work. I have no right to force people to go to whatever grocery store I tell them to. That's why people do not have a right to be free from the risk of being infected by others. Yeah, it's like, oh, but what about my health? Yeah, you as an individual have a right to do what you need to do in order to minimize the risk to you. But you do not have a right to mandate what I do. Period. A perfect example of this. I could say I have a right to not risk infection. Okay. Well, what causes infection? Access to the other person. Well, if and you're going to love this one, if an LGBTQ activist claims that they have a right to have a pride float where they, wearing nothing but a sparkly Speedo, have to be allowed to dance around down the sidewalk, well, they're putting other people at risk of infection because their body is accessing the area to everyone else. Oh, that's that's an anti-LGBT statement. They have a right to show their pride. Okay, which is it? Does this individual have a right to dance down the sidewalk in nothing but a Speedo? Or does the rest of the population, do other people rather, on the sidewalk, have a right to say, no, cover up so that I'm not at risk of catching a bacteria from you? Yeah, guess how that's going to fall in the modern society? Because people have an emotional response. Yeah, okay. Given all of the other legal things involved, the person has a right to dance down the sidewalk in nothing but a Speedo. And that won't prevent their body from emanating bioparticles, skin flakes, dust, sweat, whatever, that can pass along bacteria and viruses. And that feeds to the requirement of everybody must wear a mask in order to decrease the spread of the virus. Okay. Well, how am I spreading the virus if I don't have the virus? Well, we don't know you don't have the virus. Okay, so what is the mask doing? Well, it's protecting you from getting the virus. Well, no, it's decreasing the chance of me being at risk of getting the virus. But we'll accept that, okay? It doesn't prevent, it decreases. But hey, better odds, whatever. Yeah, I'd rather take the 98% chance of not getting it versus the 70% chance of not getting it. Whatever. Now, telling me I have to wear it, the immediate counter argument is, well, no shirt, no shoes, no service. You have to wear sleeves when you go to a buffet. Like those exist anymore, right? Or do they? Well, I have a right to show off my body, right? I could dance down the street in a Speedo, right? As long as I have purple hair and declare myself to be an activist anyway. So, or let's use the other controversial one. Well, that woman shouldn't be walking around in nothing but a bikini top. Oh, you can't tell her how to dress. Okay. But you can tell me I have to wear a mask. How about we stick with the human rights version and we ask or recommend, but not require or mandate? Now, vaccines. We've already discussed these are not fully licensed. These are only under the emergency authorization use. Oh, but Jim, it is an emergency. COVID is killing people. Yeah, cigarettes cause more cancerous deaths each month than COVID does. But we're not banning cigarettes. We're not banning smoking. I mean, virtually banning it. There are some places, like if you are outside of your car, it's like, forget it. You can't even, some places you cannot even smoke in your own house without the risk of having several other legal actions if something happens. There are numerous places you cannot smoke on the sidewalk because the side stream smoke might affect someone near you. While at the same time, places that have that rule have no problem with you smoking weed on the sidewalk. And like, really? Really? Consistency or emotion? It's emotion. But yes, so I am getting slightly off track. The emergency use authorization is also indemnifying the corporations that manufacture the vaccine. So let's say I own the company Moderna. Or better yet, we just won't pick a company, okay? Let's say I own a company that's producing vaccines for COVID, and I choose to put cyanide in them. Hemlock, arsenic. Well, clearly, everybody's going to be dying from being poisoned. Who takes that vaccine? Well, the emergency use authorization indemnifies said corporation against any lawsuits, so they've just murdered a bunch of people and are totally free of consequence because they were authorized under emergency use only. That's not justification for a mandate. Walmart, as an example, is mandating that all of their employees have 60, or is that Disney? No, I'm fairly sure it's Walmart. All of their employees have 60 days to be vaccinated or lose their job. Okay, I understand that in America, businesses have a right to make employment requirements. No one in America has a right to demand that a company hire them and give them a job. It's like, okay, you want to work for Walmart? Get the vaccine. Well, I don't want to get the vaccine. Then you can't work for Walmart. Well, they can't tell me I have to. No, but they also don't tell you have to work there. There is nothing that says you have to be permitted to work there. So yes, they can make it a condition of employment. Now, that gets a little bit edgy. It gets a little edgy and suspicious because the final point I'm going to be bringing up is that in the area that I am currently talking about, effective tomorrow, only restaurant dining in, eating in a restaurant will be limited to vaccinated people only. Non-vaxxers, well, you can get a to-go plate, but you can't eat inside with the decent vaccinated folk. Okay, would anyone like to know the exact correlation to the other N-word use in the 1950s? Whites only. Black people can get a to-go plate, but you can't eat inside with the decent folk. In this case, it's vaccinated, and per that same directive, make sure that you carry your vaccine card available upon request, because only the decent vaccinated folk are allowed to eat inside. You non-vaxxers, well, it's your choice. You could have just got vaccinated. Or like they told the Irish immigrants when they said none of them need apply, well, they could just change their name and learn how to talk right. For some reason, and this is relevant throughout all of humanity and all of human history, humans look for a way to discriminate in order to force subjugation. That is not the way to a bright new tomorrow. Y'all have a great time.